And there is different complexities in all of those. So it also depends on the person running it. What kind of complexity do they want? Because a ton of people who do not want the complexity of a full 3-day event where you on stage for like 6 to 9 hours speaking to an audience. You have to have a lot of content, you have to structure it correctly. But when you do, you can make an offer of 10,000, 15, 25. You know, the company I worked with, they were making offers in the $50,000 and $60,000 range and sold a lot of them during these 3-day events. But they have a big team to actually enable everything to happen. If you are looking at the virtual
Uh,
summit where you have speakers coming in, you can still make a lot of sales. Like we ran a virtual summit in February of 2022, the Own Your Stage Summit, first time. We did $25,000 in sales within 2 weeks. And over a 2-year period, we made another $25,000 in sales to people who came in through that particular summit, because we had the monetization
mhm.
strategy in mind. We knew what we were selling. We knew who the audience was. We knew what the benefits and transformation that we were providing to them. So it doesn't matter whether you're a marriage counselor or something else. If you do the event the right way with the right understanding of what your role is in that process, you can make that a very successful
Mhm.
event.
Okay. The you've been 5 years of doing this is not a joke. Plus your previous history when you're doing in person events and coaching. How long does it take somebody to who maybe hasn't done one before, but is going through the learning curve to get the communication skills? Say, they're a regular kind of introverted person with really
Yeah.
something to share, right? Um, maybe an extrovert and introvert will go about it differently, but in your experience, does the introvert or extrovert learn these skills faster, slower
Th-
one or the
that,
other, or what is it? And how long do you
Yeah,
think it takes
that's a
a person?
really good question, and we do teach what you need to do. We have resources available that tells you what you need to do. The biggest thing between an introvert and the extrovert, I think, from my experience, and I'm not talking about any particular individual, just like generally, is extroverts often take a little bit too much of the attention on themselves, whilst introverts tend to pull back a little bit too much, and you have to find balance.
Uh-huh.
When I did my first event, as an introvert, it was a 4-day summit. I literally, as I mentioned earlier, like, thank you very much, speaker. Here's the next speaker. Turned off the camera, was in the background. And it was day 3 when I went like, thank you very much, speaker. Hey, this is the Solopreneur Accelerator Summit. I am Steve Eriksen. Here's what I do. Here is the next speaker. So I started then, do more of myself. And the format we have developed now over time is that we tend to give speakers around 30 to 45 minutes. And then we have a 5 to 10 minute interval, which is not a break. Right? That's very important. It's not a break, right? What we say to people is, hey, this is your time to go and get the refreshment, go and get the bio break, and then we talk about something that is transformative for the audience. We give them golden nuggets. We ask questions. We provide information. We tell them about our next webinar. We use that time to promote ourselves. Sometimes if we have a 10-minute interval, we only have 7 minutes to do it because the previous speaker went over time and things like that. So we just adjust to it. But we found having that time in between is really a sweet spot. In addition to, I always tell people, you do the first talk this is a live summit, you do the first talk and you do the last talk. You bookend it. You start it and you finish it. You make offers. If you don't make offers, you're making a mistake. And that's how you get sales success. The people who are very, very extroverted when they are doing interviews, they literally talk too much, right? They take over. It's suddenly not the person being interviewed. It's suddenly the expert or the host sitting there and talking about how great they are. And for people who are listening in, that's a sign, and that they switch off when they're hearing that very often.
Yep. Yeah, yeah. You got to have some balance in there, and that kind of in between time is where you show off and make your offer. And that's the value of running the summit, right? It's not like, hey, how great I am. but you gotta throw some of that in. That summit allows you to bring in that value in the education and maybe entertainment. That's brilliant. I can tell you've been doing this for a day or two. Bravo.
Indeed. And one of the key things about the summit where people really undervalue this aspect of it, and this is why I did a summit from the beginning. You coming in as the baby. You're coming in as being brand new. Nobody knows you. And honestly, if you've been in business for 5 years and you don't make $10,000 a month or more in consistent sales, then you're still brand new, even if you've been doing it for 5 years, because nobody knows about you. Nobody's seeking you out, right? So you're coming in there without any authority, and you're surrounding yourself with experts. Now, they might only be experts to their audience, right? But the key thing about virtual summits is that the speakers must promote. You don't have enough money to spend advertising to get people into a virtual summit. So what you're telling your speakers is you get to be on my stage in front of the audience that we are creating, but the cost for you to do that is you bring in your audience. You have to promote your audience. So you have people turning up in the room, and these people were brought in by the experts, and the person who comes in goes like, oh, that's my expert, I really respect them, I know what they're doing, otherwise they wouldn't have signed up for the event. And then you are coming and talking to that expert. You are introducing that expert. You are the one who's introducing all the experts. That is implied authority. Their authority is rubbing off on you, and they will be looking at you like, oh, that person, the host, there must be an expert as well. Even if you're not, even if nobody perceives you as being, they believe you are. It's as simple as that. That's human psychology, right? So
Well, yeah, because you're paired with somebody, so obviously you're now associated.
yes, that association carries over to you. And now that you're an expert, now you go and make your offer. And they go, oh, my expert, my authority obviously approves of you because they were on your stage. So yes, I will take a look at your offer. And that's how you make sales.
And that's why it's so important to make sure you do that in between and still make it fun and interesting. You've I can tell you've come from School of Hard Knocks a little bit. Not everybody can really go out there and have the courage to pre-sell their products before they're ready to even build it. Never mind go out there and to say, "Hey, can I get money? Here's a program, here's an offer." Right? Is this in line with, something of value to you? What's your backstory? Like, when you were 5 years old, did you have, like, the biggest lemonade stand in all of Europe, or, what's that story?
Well, very, very good question. So my story is that I'm actually passionate about solopreneurs, coaches, who don't have a big team that they are employing. They are on their own. They might be hiring in people to help them, but they don't have employees. That's my passion, and that comes from actually when I was 7 years old. My dad had a local store in a very small area. There was like a village of like 500 people, and he had a convenience store where everybody came and bought the milk and the food, and he had a gas pump outside. Then, when I was 7 years old, the gas company decided to go for economies of scale, so they consolidated a lot, and they removed the gas pumps from these individual stores and went for gas stations instead. And the nearest gas station was 15 minutes drive away. And now everybody had to drive for 15 minutes, and next door was a supermarket. So they did all of their weekly shopping when they filled the gas in the tractors in their cars, and my dad lost all of that custom. Now, being so early, this was 1974 roughly. He didn't have the skills, the knowledge, of how to overcome this, how to reposition himself, go into different business. So he went bankrupt. Now, I'm Norwegian. Yeah.
Oh, no. How long have you been running that business? Was it a family business or is it something?
No, it was actually only about 2 years. So we
Oh, no, so just when he was getting started.
Yeah, so they actually had my parents had a different business somewhere else. They had a flower shop, and that went really well. But they moved, and then sold the flower shop. They invested the money from the flower shop in this new shop. They knew having a shop is good, steady income kind of thing. And then it all literally went from like 1 month being okay. They were told like 4 weeks later you're going to lose your gas pump, and all the business disappeared. It was that quick. This was in Norway, 1974, and the rules were if you couldn't pay your way out of the bankruptcy, you had to stay bankrupt for 10 years. Then it would be stricken. And so I grew up from 7 to 17, knowing that in my childlike manner, a big business crushed my dad's small business. It was the big business's fault, kind of thing. It's only many years later then I realized that no, it was my dad's lack of access to knowledge so he could educate himself. So I saw my dad through many, many years, like trying to be successful and never succeeding quite on that front. And so I came out. I did an electronics degree for 4 years in the UK. I did a 2 year MBA in the UK, and I came out there with big business knowledge. Went in to start my own business, and then I realized that what I had been taught about business did not apply to a small business. I won awards. There was actually an internet service provider back with dial-up modems, and I won awards as being the best internet service provider in the UK.
Oh, nice.
But we still didn't make the sales. And I realized I used my big business marketing knowledge, and my small business didn't succeed because of it. I didn't go bankrupt. I call it my failure to succeed. It's not a failed business. I sold it and everything else but not for what I wanted to get for it. And that's when I started like, what does it take to be successful? And that's when I really got to understand psychology. How does sales work? What is it that in our brain makes us want to have something? So I studied hypnosis. I studied neurolinguistic programming, language pattern.
Oh, so that's how you've been married for 34 years, 33 years.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. The
Okay, I'm gonna take that lesson.
Yeah, I mean, the biggest success for a successful marriage is to say, "Yes, darling, I understand, darling. I was wrong, darling. You were right, darling." Do that, and you got
Oh, and that's better than the hypnosis.
yes, with hypnosis. No, I'm just kidding. We are soulmates. We really are. So we're having a lot of fun together. That's
I can tell you talk about it with a lot of love, so and I see the smile on your face. You're glowing, so good job.
we currently digital nomads. We're traveling around for 2 years, and we are literally in a single room doing the business together. She works with me in the business. She's the co-founder, and
Uh-huh. Oh, so she's listening right now, she's like, "I'm watching what you say."
absolutely, she's sitting there.
Yes, she
Yes, bravo, Jen.
Absolutely, and because we're working together all the time, 24/7 together, you just have to. You either are strong in your relationship, or it's going to fall apart. We're strong. We're going to stay there. So, but the point is, I learned all of the things that matters: direct response copywriting, emotional copywriting. How do you use frameworks to make things successful? So I used in neurolinguistic program, you have the concept of modeling. You take something that somebody else does that is successful, and you adapt it to yourself. So for instance, us pre-selling, that was just knowing that other people have gone out, they've pre-sold, and other people have gone out and developed for several years and then tried to sell and been a failure. So we said that one worked and that one didn't. Let's do it. And then we sold $140,000 worth. So therefore, we were confident in being able to go out and saying, yes, we're doing this business. And that's we are launching at the moment. We're doing a beta program on a new type of coaching program. It's a done for you coaching program, where we will implement everything for you, and we have one-on-one meetings with you to extract that information so we can do it. But as we're doing it, we're teaching you what we've done. So we're coaching you on what we are actually doing at the same time. So you get the knowledge, but you're not left to your own devices. We're not leaving you to go like, oh, this is too difficult and I don't know which way to go. We are making sure that you do it all. So this is a coaching program where I'm expecting like 100% participation, 100% they're going to get through it, rather than, in many coaching programs, people fail to complete, right? And it's a beta program. And the way I did was I said, here is what we're going to deliver. Then I started talking about it, and then people said, yes, I'm in, and people starting sending me money, and I went like, okay, let's figure out how we're delivering this. Let's figuring out what the content is. We have the plan of what we're doing, but now we need to figure it out,
Uh-huh.
right? Instead of spending months trying to create this thing and then promoting it, we just went out there, promoted it. That is always what I recommend. Go out, talk to people, sign them up, get them some money, then figure it out. It can be scary.
Yep. Yep. See if it is. See if it's there or if it's just a dream. Well, great advice. Steve, we are coming towards the end of our time. I actually ran over. So thank you so much for continuing with us this whole time. And I think we could have gone on for another 40 minutes just based off the great stories you're having. And I may ask you to come back and dive more into some topics because you've been sharing a lot of great stuff. Huge hints that I hope that a lot of the entrepreneurs that work with me and are out there and curious on how to get started really listen to some of the things you were saying. My one of my favorite questions, and I think I warned you, is that I like to ask: is there a favorite book, favorite podcast that comes to mind based off the discussions we had today?
You mean apart from the Phil Cutting podcast?
You're right. Or maybe it should be the Steve Eriksen podcast.
Well, we do have some plans for podcasting, so just watch the space for 2026 in terms of what we're doing. I think the most important book that any coach should read and understand is Robert Cialdini's the Psychology of Influence.